Welcome, Dr. Ramakrishna Hegde. So today we thought of talking to you on various aspects related to cultivation of soap nuts and shikakai in our agroforestry ecosystem. See, we at Biological Research Innovation Center and Solutions at Bengaluru, that it's a startup that we started this in 2015 to develop some products which are suitable for the green lifestyle today. And one option that what we chose is that developing the household and personal care products made out of the botanical origin, and that you know better than me, that the God given the botanicals for the cleansing activity are soap nuts and shikakai. So in last 4 5 years, based on our the fine tuning and research efforts, that we have developed some products, the EcoSwitch and EcoSatwa 3R products, and they are already in the market. Now as we move on, the demand is increasing, and somewhere somehow we have to probably work at the back end to help farmers or to help people to grow soapnut and shikakai in their lands. See, you know that this is, as of now, it is more of forest produce. There are certain limitations, and of course we also have the permission from Karnataka State Biodiversity Board and other things to use this forest produce. All these things are there, but we have to consider this as a crop of farmers, and probably to grow in our not necessarily wastelands, but the agricultural lands, maybe in the borders, or this one, or probably you can explain to us on how can we integrate in our agroforestry production systems. So for that purpose, that we thought of talking to you. Thank you so much for making time, taking time, and helping us to understand the cultivation aspects and other aspects, so that the people who listen to us, or people who see this video later, can understand and probably use this knowledge, this information, to have cultivation of the soap nuts and shikakai in their farms or in their lands. So I request you to highlight us on all these aspects of the cultivation of soap nuts and shikakai, and probably help us in understanding better. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Ramakrishna Hegde.
Good morning, viewers, and my dear friend Dr. Rajendra Hegde. I am really thankful to you for giving this opportunity to me. Today, I am planning to discuss the silviculture of natural cleanser, mainly Sapindus amarginatus and Acacia consina, that is shikakai. And in the beginning, I'll be presenting my views or my slides, some of the basic information, and later we can have interaction on this. So now let me start the presentation so that we can we can have our deliberation. Maybe at the end, as I told you earlier, so we can have our interaction. So with this, so now I would like to start my presentation, that is silviculture of natural cleansers, mainly soap nut, that is Sapindus amarginatus and Acacia consina. So as you are aware that these natural cleansers are getting importance in day-to-day life, because the artificial what we are doing, this detergents and all those things, they have a lot of repercussions on our environment or on our ecosystems. In order to overcome that, my friends, now first of all I should congratulate the friends from BRICS who developed some marketable products from these natural cleansers like Sapindus and Acacia consina. So in order to overcome this environmental impact of use of this artificial detergents, it is better to go for natural cleansers. And when you say the developing products from these natural cleansers, it is essential to know how these natural cleansers can be cultivated as crop, and the product can be used for in the different industrial applications. So let me start with this, the Sapindus emarginators. So these Sapindus emarginators are locally or commonly known as soap nut in English, and in Kannada it is Antwada. So it is a medium-sized to large deciduous tree with a globose crown and fine leathery foliage. Usually the tree may attain up to 20-meter height. It is native of India and is being cultivated in the backyards of many in villages, in the backyards, or sometimes some trees are planted on the farmland along the fence or along the boundary, or sometimes here and there. So fruits are normally drupes, then they are fleshy, then around 1 to 2 centimeter, having across and 0.8 to 1.2 centimeter in diameter. Normally they are black and and loose in dry fruit. So the global distribution, if you see that this particular species found in South Asia, that is tropical region, and the northern part of India, its relatives are cultivated, that is Sapindus trifolius and Sapindus laurifolius. So these who are also being India, this is Sapindus emarginatus is Indian parallel, it is in Kerala, that is in Palakkad, Malappuram, and those places it is found. And in Karnataka, it is mainly found in medium to high rainfall areas of Belgaum, Chikmagalur, Uttara Kannada, Dakshin Kannada, Shimoga, Kodagu, Hassan, Udupi, and parts of Dharwad. So in these places, this particular species is found naturally. So coming to the plant propagation, so when I say plant propagation, the propagation is mainly through seeds only. So seeds, they are actually technically fruits, are collected from ground as and when they fall during February to March. So fleshy or semi-hard pericarp is removed by soaking in water for 24 hours and rubbing in hand. The seeds are then separated and dried in shade, and around 450 to 750 seeds make 1 kilogram, and seeds can be stored for 1 year. Some of the, so you can see that, so this is the fruits soaked in water, and see this is depulping by hand, and the pericarp and seeds, the pericarp is separated and the seeds which are separated from that. And this is the portion which is used for cleansing purpose or preparing natural detergents. So what I wanted to say here is that you can see here already foam which is there. This is very good for cleansing, especially for cleaning of jewels. Our golden jewels are being cleaned with the help of this. And these are all the seeds extracted from the fruits. Coming to the treatment of seed, because always we require good germination. A good germination of seeds can be expected by sowing pre-treated seeds. Seeds can be soaked in cold water for 24 hours or can be subjected to sandbag treatment. If you ask me personally, based on my own experience, I prefer to go for sandbag treatment, wherein we have to mix the seeds and sand in the proportion of 1 part of seed and 2 parts of sand in gunny bag, and it has to be kept in open sun, and it has to be watered twice a day for a week. So if you do that, the germination starts within a week of sowing, and normally pre-emergent seeds from the sandbag treatment, treated this one are sown in plant containers filled with potting media. So before going for the filling up of the potting media, it is important to prepare the potting mixture. So potting mixture, it should have good porosity, good water holding capacity, then it should be light in weight, it should be free from pest and disease, it should be low in clay or silt content, and it should be economically affordable. These are the important characters of potting mixture. And the ratio of different potting mixture for loamy soil vary from 2:1:1, that is soil, sand, FIM, or 1:1:1. That depends on the sand content in this soil. Or sometimes one can go for soil compost and vermicompost in the ratio of 5:4:1. Or one can go for soil, sand, and compost in the ratio of 1:2. So this is how the potting mixture proportion should be there. On the right side, you can see the filling up of the potting mixture by my students and their juniors. So coming to the preparation of potting mixture further, one has to use the sieved sand and manures. For that purpose, soil, are used as such. Sprinkled, it has to be sprinkled with water. Mixing of soil, sieved sand and manures is very, very important. Then once the mixture is made, it has to be tested. For that purpose, one has to take the handful sample of prepared mixture, moisten it with water, form a ball of wood with the hand, and drop down from the hip height and let it fall freely on the ground. The ball opens like petals of the flower. It is very good. The combination is ideal. If it is intact without crack, then one has to add some more sand. If it breaks and sprinkles, it spreads like anything, then one has to add soil. So in the next slide, you can see the pictures of different, see how the soil and sand particles are sieved. Then it is mixed. Then you can see the proportion of vermicompost, sand, and soil. Then it is mixed. Then after that, it is being tested. So you can see how it has to be dropped. Then this is the result final. So if it is good, means it is excellent for using, and like this, if it is there, it is acceptable. And if it spreads like this, one has to add soil so that there will be proper porosity. So these are all the pre-germinated seeds in sandbag treatment. Pre-germinated seeds sown in plant containers. You can see some of the seeds which are being sown. Then plants after seed germination in plant containers, 1 month after germination in the plant containers. So this is how the nursery activities. In nursery, the pest and disease management is very, very important. In our place, we could not find any major diseases or pests. So the main insect found on Sapindus amarginatus was cricket and grasshoppers, and they were feeding on the leaves of soapnut. So foliage spray of Phenol-Phos, 2 ml per liter is recommended if severe infestation is observed. Otherwise, one need not go for this one and leave it for nature to cure it. So then cultivation, the soapnut is already being cultivated in Assam, in India. In the Western Ghats region of India, many farmers have undertaken cultivation in backyard or home gardens, or sometimes in their farm boundaries. Soapnut trees can be grown as mixed crop in coffee estates, in disease-affected area, disease-affected areca gardens, because many areca gardens are being affected. In such areas, it can be cultivated in the borders of the estates or the farmland, and it could be even grown as monocrop. Not only this, soapnut trees can also be grown at school premises. Sorry, at school premises, then urban backyards, or even urban parks, roadside planting, or even avenue trees. So there are in many degraded lands where uh, there is no scope for cultivation of other crop, and even it can also be cultivated on the unutilized sites in urban areas. So for cultivation purpose, one has to align and place the stakes to mark the spots for taking the pits. Normally, it can be cultivated with 4 meter by 4 meter spacing to 6 meter by 6 meter spacing if it is grown as crop. If it is grown in a single line, it is better to go for 6 meter by 6 meters, 6 meter spacing between the trees. Dig the pits based on the size of the plant. If the plants are large, even one can dig even up to 1 meter by 1 meter pit also. Otherwise, normal 30 centimeter, 30 cubic centimeter pits can be dug and nursery grown plants can be planted. So add minimum 2 kilogram of vermicompost or compost to each pit. So in termite prone areas, addition of anti-termite chemical or material is must. Maybe you can add neem cake or you can add cement or whatever may be the thing, in order to prevent this termite, because in the initial stage, this first few months of planting, the termite infestation in termite prone area, that termite infestation destroy the entire plantation. So in order to overcome that, it is very, very important. Then management as part of the cultivation, first 2 to 4 years, now depending upon the interspace, one can go for intercultivations such as vegetables, vegetables like any vegetables. One can cultivate cowpea, beans can be cultivated, ginger can be cultivated, turmeric can be cultivated. Intercropping helps in weed management, stability to exposed soil and it prevents soil erosion. For better productivity, sorry, there was some mistake. For better productivity, it is plant management is very, very important. Soil management helps in loosen the soil around the plant to improve the soil aeration, preferably during March. Sufficient care should be taken not to damage the root system. In older trees, after 6 to 8 years, loosening of the soil around the base is highly beneficial. It can also be cultivated along with the bamboo plantations, provided there should be proper clump management is critical. Weed management can also be done. So regular weeding in the initial 2 to 3 years for quicker establishment and faster growth of saplings can also be done. For the better faster growth of the trees, it is better to go for weed management. Otherwise, the weeds will suppress the tree because it is a light demanding species. So the lack of light could affect the plant growth. So yield, so trees starts yielding fruits after 10 to 12 years of planting, if seed origin. Grafted plants will yield after 6 years of planting. And initially the yield will be less. After 20 years of planting, one can harvest around 70 to 100 kilogram of fresh fruits from each tree. This is with least management. So with intensive cultivation practice, one can get more yield also from each tree. Coming to the next species, Acacia consina, which is also known as shikakai. This shikakai is a climbing shrub which is native to Asia. It is commonly found in the warm plains of Central and South India, and it is a thorny liana. This is food for butterfly, especially Pantophoria rhodonia is the butterfly. The larvae of this particular butterfly feed on this. So alkaloids which are found in the tree's fruits are used as natural cleanser. This particular species is not domesticated. The domestication has to be done for this particular species. Whatever the product you see in the market, it is mainly collected from the wild. It is mainly collected from the wild plants found in the forests or degraded lands. So not much work has been done on domestication of the species. This is, since it is a thorny plant, many people don't like to cultivate the species. And this is the shikakai pods, and on the right side, now in the pack, this one you can see shikakai packed powder, so which we developed a few years back with the help of LAMP Cooperative Society, Papa, Chikmagalur, and this is in brief about shikakai. And if a person cultivates a tree or this coconut tree or shikakai, what are the ecosystem services which can render the ecosystem? One is flowers are good bee forage, because the soapnut bee has a special price, and the flowers from shikakai also, they are being liked by the honeybees. Then leaves are good manures. Live biofences on boundaries can be established with the help of shikakai. Then shikakai is nitrogen fixing. These are all the associated services this can render the soil or to the nature. So the cultivation of soapnut and shikakai is in rudimentary stage. It has to be cultivated on large scale so that the natural cleansers will be used and the impact of artificial detergents can be reduced or can be minimized by use of these natural cleansers. Thank you very much for patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ramakrishna Hegde. So I think you highlighted some of these aspects. Maybe one or two things that I just want to get clarification here is, so I think you discussed that, particularly the soapnut cultivation, because shikakai, you said that it is still not domesticated because of its thorny stature and other things. I think we will probably promote the crops with the farmers or the people who wanted to use their lands. But you are telling that it is better to go with degraded lands because other crops this one. But whenever there is an intercultivation opportunity possibilities, that we can always go with in a normal land as well. Not necessarily that it has to be a degraded land. So maybe as a border crop or this one. So we always consider that the having plants is always an advantage, because you are also telling, see, there is so much of carbon credits that it can give to us, and it is always an advantage. But specifically, do you have any idea of the development of varieties which are suitable for different regions? Because I have seen the soapnut that what we get here in South India is little darker, but the one which we get from north, or maybe you were also telling Assam, and we got sometimes from Orissa, even from some samples from Nepal, but they are quite big and little more shiny compared to this one. Whether, I don't know, maybe it is because of the cultivation practice or maybe because of the varietal differences. So if you have any idea about the varieties or high yielding varieties, please let us know.
Thanks, Rajendra, for posing this question. In fact, what we are getting from north is from a different species. So that is maybe the fruit what you are getting from there, maybe of Sapindus trifolius or Sapindus murcosis or lorifolius. So there are different species. What we are getting in south is Sapindus emarginatus. The leaf shape is slightly different from trifolius and emarginatus. And regarding the variety, yeah, definitely there is lot of scope, but I think bricks, if you initiate for identifying, for screening different genotypes, which are found in different areas, and along the Western Ghats itself, you have a lot of variation in fruit shape and fruit size also. So you'll find slightly larger fruits and you find slightly lesser. It is important, to domesticate the species. Both the species have not undergone systematic domestication process. Now, whatever you see that is which is being cultivated by the farmers, they are cultivating 1 or 2 trees or maximum 100 trees in their backyard or maybe in their farmland along the fences. It was not done. It was not undergone any systematic domestication process. Simply, they collected the seeds from the wild. They must have sown the seed. The plant might have been, formed from that, and they are collecting the fruits. Point number one. Point number two. When we are speaking about this natural cleansers, the main issue is saponin content in soap nut, that is sapindus. Definitely, there will be variation along its natural boundary and that natural distribution area, and you may have to take up some selection process, maybe identifying some different agroclimatic zones and collecting some samples from that and assessing their saponin content and yield also very, very important. So maybe by considering these issues, if it is taken, if it is done, it will be fantastic and it will be wonderful. Not much work has been done on this issue.
Okay, right. So apart from this, so if you have any information on probably you are sitting in the university and attending so many meetings and other things. So what kind of support or what kind of probably promotional activities by the Department of Forestry or maybe other social forestry wings or something like that to because we as entrepreneurs, we always look at continuous and higher supplies on a regular basis, because now we always see that there is always an what is that continuous demand and shortage of supply. Sometimes, see, shortage of supply is fine because it increases the price and probably it is good for the farmers. But for us as entrepreneurs, so we look at that a continuous supply at a very maybe a normal stable price. So that way, if you have any idea on the promotional activities from the Department of Forestry, let us just know, please.
Yeah. See, definitely it requires R&D support. Without R&D support, it is very difficult to domesticate. So the major emphasis should be given on genetic improvement of both these species. From the point of identification of high yielding genotype or high yielding varieties, then coupled with standardization of cultivation practices. Whatever the practice which I have mentioned or which I have given is, it is, some trial and error method only. There is no standardized cultivation practice. That these two issues have to be addressed. Point number three is harvesting. See, the right stage of harvesting for getting the maximum saponin or maximum alkaloid content, so that will be useful for the industry. So what I wanted to say here is that three issues need to be addressed through proper R&D and extension activities. That is, one is identification of high-yielding genotypes or varieties. Second one is standardization of cultivation practices. And the third one is harvesting stage, and when the maximum products or the produce can be the maximum biochemicals or saponins or alkaloids, so that which has industrial applications. These are very, very important.
Yeah. So as you said that the collaboration of private and public both institutions is a must to take it forward. I think probably in the university system that more scope, probably giving some studies to the students, PhD or maybe postgraduate students, so that they can seriously work on the improvement, evaluation of the varieties, and other things. Then hopefully that it should have, because the days to come is going to be surely on botanical cleansers, because people today have realized the hazardous or detrimental effects of the cleansers, the synthetic cleansers, industrially produced cleansers. So on our ecosystem, the life in soil and water bodies. So hopefully there should be some positive shift, both at the research end, both at the mindset of the users. See, as of now, say based on my experience, if you ask me, that we still get the supply sufficiently, but once the demand goes very high, so we may have to face that. And at the same time, that it can be an additional income. So you mentioned very clearly in the very beginning, see, having soapnut and shikakai in agroforestry system can be an additional income for the farmers. So we are all looking at that. Now we are in that stage now, see, to double the farmers income. It cannot be only with cultivating major crop, but along with the other crops in the borders, or maybe some spaces, that whatever they have. So I think we will stop there, doctor. There will be plenty to discuss, and so if we have any more doubts, we will come back to you. Please cooperate in all your future this one, and take this also as a research agenda wherever possible on your university research programs, so that it is much easier for us to promote the products from soapnut and shikakai as a beautiful natural cleansers, and probably save this ecosystem from the detrimental effects of synthetic or industrially produced the soaps and detergents. Thank you so much for your time, doctor, and I think we will close here. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajendra. Before ending my this one, just I wanted to, if it is possible to have, with the association with some corporate giants under their CSR, if such activities can be taken, it will be useful. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.